I'm Ruth, and I am speaking from my studio and channel, Get Sewing and Quilting Done. I have to say I took a long break. I didn't intend to. I keep on getting viruses. So I'm back, and I'm finally doing the first one of a series on what I call foot control. But basically it's about how to use the feet and different feet. So I thought I would start with the good old 42. It is the Bernina stitch regulator. It is amazing. Because of it, I have changed the way I work. I love to quilt so much more. I'm going to show how I use mode 1 and how I started and stop it. I love moving the fabric around versus moving the machine. That's the way I work. If I ever do get a big long arm machine or mid arm machine, it'll be a sit down model because I love using the fabric and moving it around. And I'm going to give you a few words of encouragement before I start, just to show you how much time I've taken to practice. So what I'm showing you is a quilt that I made quite a few years ago, and I'm going to do a close-up of those plumes for the feather, and you could see they're not very good, okay? Just to give you an idea how I started, encouragement. Now, coming forward, this is a quilt on my bed, and look at those plumes. This is free motion feathers, and I'm so proud of it. It took a lot of work to get there. So I want to encourage you, not be worried if you don't get it at the beginning. Okay, so you're looking at the computer screen or the sewing machine screen on my Bernina. What I really love about it is how it makes everything right. It always starts up at 1. As you can see, your screen, if you have a new model, might look a little bit bigger, but it's the same thing. I'm pointing right now at the stitch plate. That's why it's highlighted in yellow. And you can see that it's highlighted here in white that I have the stitch plate that has a very tiny little hole. I want to show you the needle with the little bow on it. That's something that I really recommend using. So if you change around your thread that you're going to use, each time you have to change the needle, this is a good reminder. Each time I change it, I change what it is. Highlighted is the top stitch, and 70, that's exactly what I want to be using. I'm using bottom line on the top and the bottom for this project. Now, going forward, I want to show you a few other things. I am now putting in the Bernina stitch regulator foot. And you can see right away what pops up on the screen is that the feed dogs are up. And what I do is I just press it in, and there it is. Okay, when we come back to the screen, it's already gone. Okay, then I want you to notice that it's highlighted in mode 1. That means that I'm going to be using the foot, the pedal that is, on the bottom. A zigzag I can't use, and highlighted is stitch number 1. Highlighted is the right stitch. I always check and see how the feed dogs are highlighted in yellow. I'm going to take it down, and then that goes away, but you want it highlighted. You want to do this with the feed dogs down, not in its regular position. The foot, which is 42 officially, is always highlighted in yellow when you're quilting. And I want you to take a good look at the tension. The regular tension is different. I have reprogrammed the default for myself. So I press the box. That's what the computerized sewing machine wants. And I love the way we have all these default stitches, but I love the way also that I can change it. Probably because I use bottom line, who knows why, but the 3.5, I've tested it, always works for me. Now I go in and I'm showing you, these are those floppy disks, if you could remember using them, if you're old enough. That's, if you press that, whatever is in there will become the default. See how that's 3.5? That's what's in there. So if what I did is I just pressed CLR and it brought it back to that. If I want to get out of it, not just like I did before, press the box, I press the floppy disk with the line across it. Now it's back to the default. Of course, that's not what I want. So I've already written it down several places if it has to be maintenance. So I know that that's where I go back, and I would, if I got it back from maintenance, I probably would retest it to make sure it works that way. I always quilt with bottom line, thread by Superior in the bottom. So here it is. I'm just going to take it back down to where I want it to be. Then I'm going into the eye again. I go into the eye again, and here I just got out by accident. I go into the eye and I press the floppy disk, and now it is where I want it to be. For stitch length, I like to stay with 2.0. I would recommend not getting smaller than 1.5, especially if it's a big quilt, and not larger than 2.5 because it just won't look that good in my opinion. But I encourage you to experiment on your own and practice to find your own good sweet spot. But what I do is I do the needle down and then I do the needle up, and you heard the Bernina burp, okay? So you just pull it up. Now that's so small, I don't believe you can see it. I'm gonna do it again and see if you can see it a little better. I think that you could see it a little better. You just pull it up. It's very short. You want a tweezers. You just hold on to it and pull it. And there you go. And then you just start to sew. So you just not go backwards and forwards. I'm pressing the foot pedal. But what I do is I know I'm going to travel, so I don't have to knot it at the beginning. You can see. I'm always traveling when I do free motion, so I'll pick a place like that. Okay, this is a throwaway piece that I made just for showing now because I have to practice so much to get this going good. So I stop somewhere and I trim it, and I always trim it like that. Now, if I'm not going to travel, you could knot it, and I'll show you how I do that at the end if you do it. But I try not to stop and start. Like, I'll fill up a bobbin if I think it's on the low side, and because it's so much work when the bobbin runs out. That hardly ever happens because we have such big ones, but it does happen, and I do check. And let's say I just go ahead and I'm going to be traveling quite a bit more. And you can see what it looks like, okay? And each time I'm doing it. Now, I really love to do this, okay? I really do. So it's a labor of love. And even though it may seem like it's taking a long time, it's so much faster than doing it by hand. Not that I'm against doing it by hand. I'm not against doing anything, okay? If I see that I have a big stitch somewhere, like I did there, I just travel over it to get rid of it. And it gives me a good reason to do something extra. That's what I do. That's why I love free motion. I love this versus the ruler work. So we're going to go along, and let's say for some reason I have to stop in the middle because I do one color at a time when I'm doing multiple colors. I usually don't have to, but I want to show you what I do. Okay, now I will do this method only with a 70 needle or a 90 needle. With something else, I would, if you're using a big thread on top and you're using a 100 needle, I would recommend pulling the whole thing out. I know it could be a lot of work, and then knotting it and doing the same thing that I'm going to show you. But with something like this, it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to take it right here, and I'm going to put my needle up, and then I'm going to pull it. See how I'm just pulling it along, okay? And that's pulling the underneath part too. And then I do needle, or I could just right here, actually I do needle down, and then that grabs the underneath needle, the underneath thread that is, then I press the little scissors and it's going to trim it. Now it doesn't knot it for quilting. You can only knot it when you're doing a regular stitch. So you pull up this, I go back, and you're going to see, I'm just going to pull it up. So there's like a little loop that is formed when you're pulling it up, and you use the tweezers to pull it out. You can use a magnifying glass if you're having a problem. I'm going to show it to you again because it's really important that you pull up that loop. So what you did when you pulled the fabric across or the quilt across, you lengthened the bottom pieces. So now you have your hands on 2 pieces of thread, and you're going to make a knot. And I make 2 knots because this is bottom line, and so it's so thin. But if you're using something else on the top, or if it's just thicker, you'll probably only want to use 1 knot. I put my finger on where I want the knot to be, and that's really important. You don't want the knot too close. If it's too close to the last stitch, it's very hard to pull it through. And if it's too far away, it's longer than the needle, then it'll come out the other side, and that kind of defeats the purpose of having the knot, okay? Because you want it embedded inside the quilting, or inside the batting. You don't want it coming out from the other side. So when I take the needle, I thread it, and you can see the little knot there. I actually thread it because I don't use a self-threading needle. I have no luck with them, but you use whatever is comfortable for you. And you can say I just put it in and my hand is underneath, because you don't want that needle coming out from the underneath at all. You want it going right through the batting, and you can feel it going through. You see I'm pushing it through, and it has like a little bump when it takes it through, and then on the side you don't see any knot. And then I just trim it. You see a little bit of a hole. It's very easy to smush it with your hands or to iron it, and it'll disappear. Okay, that's it. Now you're just seeing me practice, and I'm going to go on after this and just practice, because I'm getting ready to do my next quilt top, and I haven't decided which stitches, if I'm going to do flowers or I'm going to do feathers. And as I decide, I'm practicing away. That's what's really important, and I'm enjoying the process. Go ahead and subscribe, because there's more videos that are going to come out. And don't forget to like it and leave comments. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Bye.